good?
Start recording.
Is
Do
it?
you want a timer? Okay.
Is this good?
Talk how you
Hello,
usually.
hello, hello. I am presenting.
Yeah.
Good?
Yes. I'll put it higher. It's a little soft voice. Can you move it higher? Closer to your mouth. Now talk.
Hello. I am presenting.
Yeah, perfect.
I am
You
presenting.
want a timer? Or are you okay?
Yeah.
Now you're okay. You're okay. You want to put your little party switch on the right side?
So I am presenting an introduction to creating photorealistic 3D models. And so if you don't know me, 3D art is a little hobby of mine. This is some of my work. It's something I'm really passionate about. And this is my most current project. It's like a hyper realistic likeness thing. So we're going to be making this image today. And it's actually a physical object, which I have right here. And we can pass this around. Take a look at that. So it's a carabiner. So to make a carabiner, we're going to go through these steps. And I made this, but you don't really have to follow this in 3D art. But if you want your models to be good, you absolutely need to follow this. Like some things are debatable, like this thing is debatable. Like you don't really need that. You also don't really need this, but you absolutely do need like this and this and this and this and this and this. Maybe not that one, but we'll get into that. All right, so step one is collecting your reference. So whoever has that carabiner right now, you take a bunch of photos of that thing and like look at it from different angles. So I took some photos here. Obviously, these aren't the only photos I took, but yeah. And then you start by modeling your object. And this is my workflow. You don't have to follow this workflow, but I like to start by blocking it out. So you just take some cylinders, you bend them a little bit. This is a cylinder, make a hole in it. And then these things are actually just like really long stretched out cubes and stuff. And then from this, you actually, oh yeah, this is a little turntable. So this is what we have right now. And by the way, if you're like working on like some weird background prop or something, then this is totally fine. You could just use this in like whatever you're working on. But we're gonna go further. And so the next step would be getting your retopology. And there's actually a step in between this and the blockout where you model out your object, and then you do your retopology. And what retopology is basically you want all the vertices on your object to like follow the flow of your forms. So if you see this, it like conforms to these like forms right here, and these little cutaways. You can see like this becomes a circle, and it's not like a jumbled mess like where you just have a bunch of triangles everywhere. So yeah, that's what retopology is. And now that we have our retopology, we have like a solid model that we can work with. So we can go on to the later steps. And the next thing is UV unwrapping. And so to UV unwrap, the best way to explain it is actually through Minecraft papercrafts. And so you can actually print these things out and then use, glue to come up with these guys over here. So you like take 2D paper and then you make a 3D object. So UV unwrapping is like the opposite. So you start with a 3D object and then you're gonna take scissors, you're gonna make a cut, and then you're gonna flatten it all out. And the reason you do this is so that you can texture something. So everywhere there's a red line here, you can think of that as a cut. And in Blender, we call those seams. So yeah, there's our cut. And then if we UV unwrap it, it looks like this. And so this is our UV map. And yeah, it may look like some parts are touching like right here, but they're actually not. This is actually just super packed because you actually want it to be super packed because this square that you're looking at here is going to be your image that you're wrapping onto your object. And you want to get like as much of that image on your object as possible because you don't want to waste, like if you have a 16K map, you don't want to waste like space like this when like that could be like a whole lot of pixels that you can get out of your texture. And so a good way to test to see if you have like a good UV map is using a color grid. And so if we map our stuff onto it, it should look like this. And so if we look at it in 3D, you'll see like all the letters and the colors are like this. And you can see they're all the same size, which is a good thing. You want them to all be the same size. And you also don't want to see like a whole bunch of like stretching or compression anywhere on your model. So this is like a pretty good UV map. But you can map any texture you want. So like you can take something like this and map that onto your object. But the UV map isn't made for this, right? So, but so if you did want to map like an image texture like this, then you'd be a little bit more mindful of like where you actually make your cuts on your object. So yeah, now we can actually do our first shading pass. And what shading is like when you actually render your object and the computer like kind of calculates sort of like how light interacts with your object. And so if we hit render right now, we just get this, which is a diffuse white material. That's the default material. And so to get into shading, we need to talk about something called the principle BSDF. And BSDF stands for bidirectional scattering distribution function. That's an absurd name. So it has a bunch of parameters. We don't actually care about a whole lot of them, but at a glance, you can see that there's a metallic parameter. There's roughness, which has to do with how shiny an object is. There's subsurface scattering, which is like the effect where like if you have a light behind your ear, it'll like glow red. There's specular, which also has to do with how shiny your object is. There's transmission, which is like glass. And then there's coat, which just adds a clear coat on top of your material. And then there's sheen, which is like kind of like if you look at one of these chairs at an angle, it'll start to look like a little whiter. And emission would be like if your object is glowing, like actually emitting light. And so here's a little demonstration of like all the different types of materials that you can make with it. So you can like get glass, you can get like a chrome metal, you can get like a plastic, you can add subsurface scattering to it if you wanted to. So yeah. So for our purposes, obviously the carabiner is metallic, so we want to have full metallic. And then roughness is at 0.2 because we want it to be like kind of shiny. And that's actually all the parameters that we want. And obviously we're going to use this purple color for this part here. And so now we have this, which is looking pretty good, right? It looks like a carabiner maybe like right out the factory, but we need to add like surface defects to it. Because if you look at the actual carabiner, it actually has like a bunch of bumps and scratches on it. And so I do that by doing high resolution sculpting, which looks like this. So you're pushing around forms and then like you're adding mass and subtracting mass where you want. And you're also like adding dents here and there to like edges and things like that. But with metallic things, you don't actually want to go overboard or else it'll start to look like a little too wonky. And so then we get this. And you can see I also stamped in the text on the carabiner. Whoever has it can see that. And you can also see there's like dents here and there, and some of the edges are like a little more irregular. And so here's the turntable. Looking all right. And now we can get into texturing. And this all looks really complicated. So I'm not actually even going to bother explaining all of this to you, but I am going to teach you the technique that I and most 3D artists use. So if you take a grayscale image like this, which is just black and white, black means 0 and white means 1. And so you can tell the renderer, okay, wherever there's a 0, do this, and wherever there's a 1, do this. And then you have all the colors in between, like all the gray values. So you can say, wherever there's black, make it purple, and wherever there's white, make it white. And so this is the technique that I use, and this is how you would get the most out of like all your textures. So to get the base color on the carabiner, that purple part, I use this type of noise, which is called Perlin noise, although it's like more complicated than that, I think. So yeah, make it purple wherever there's black, then wherever it's white, keep it white. And then you can, there's parameters that you can tweak with your texture to make it like more rough. So it fits better on like the carabiner material. And so yeah, that's the technique that we use for all of these. So we're using like little mix factors here. And you can see like we're mixing between these two gray values here based on like different maps and stuff like that. But we're only using this for roughness and normal. And normal is just like all of the microscopic surface bumps that we're going to add to our object. Roughness has to do with like how shiny it is. So we're introducing kind of we're like varying the roughness, the surface roughness on the carabiner so that it looks like a real thing. Yeah. And then obviously you don't want to hand someone this gigantic node tree because like this makes no sense to any of you, I'd imagine. But this probably would be a little bit more digestible. So you bake down all of that stuff to 3 textures, which is your base color, your roughness, and your normal map. And so obviously roughness is how shiny it is. Normal map contains like the bump detail, and the base color contains the color. So here's the color, right? You can see we have like purple on this side, and then like it kind of fades to white over here. And then the white part is like that silver part. It's called the gate on the carabiner. So that part's just silver. So we keep that white. And then here's the roughness. And so black means perfectly shiny. It's like a mirror. And then white means no roughness at all. And obviously, since it's a pretty shiny object, you want it to be pretty dark, right? So this would be like full white, and there's none of that in here. It's pretty dark because it's a shiny object. And this is the normal map. It's really hard to see, but if you were to zoom into all of this, you would see like really subtle like surface bump stuff going on here, and you can actually see the letters that are stamped into the model. And so if we hit render right now, this is what we get, and it's looking pretty good. And so the next step would be to, oh yeah, here's a closer look at it. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. You can see like we have like more irregular surface details and like dents and scratches here and there. And so the next step, and here's a here's a turntable. So yeah, now you have like a complete model. This like you'd be happy with this. Like this is pretty good. Now the next step would be to set up a scene. And I came up with this idea to have just a bunch of carabiners all linked up together. And I have an area light here, and that's just a blank wall in the back. You can see my camera is right there. And so if you hit render, we get this, which looks pretty cool. And then you can add compositing, which just basically means adding a filter. And that's it. So to summarize, you model your object, you get your retopology, you mark your seams, you unwrap your object, you sculpt your object, you texture your object, you render it, you set up your scene, you render that, and then you composite that. And there you go. Follow me on Instagram. Questions? Yes.
Why'd you start this?
Why did I start this?
3D one.
When did I start? Why did I start? I don't know.
Because he was at home.
There it is.
What's your most popular work?
Probably Jacob Collier's room.
Oh, interesting.
I don't.
Who's Jacob Collier?
Oh, this thing broke. He's a dude. Shane.
Does the roughness actually change the depth of the surface?
It does not. That stays on the
So it
surface.
only affects the texture.
Yeah.
How does it make that effect?
So the normal map actually does that. So the surface stays exactly the same. Like the 3D surface stays exactly the same, but when light bounces off it, it's gonna bounce off it in a different way.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Sandra.
How long did that take?
Oh, what the heck is that? This took me a day and a half to make. Yes.
Longest work.
My longest work, that thing that I mentioned at the beginning, that dude. Yeah, it's not done. Sandra.
Longest work that's completed.
The room of the dude of the project that I haven't finished yet.
But completed. Now you're done with it.
Yeah, that's done. Yes.
The band that you're working on right now, is that the same one that you've been working
Yes.
on? I remember.
Yes.
What's your-
My favorite work that I've done?
Yeah.
Probably the room of that guy. Yes.
Where do you learn all this?
YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you think this is a hobby for people to get into?
Yeah, it's kind of technical, but yeah. I wish some people here would. Yes.
Is it inexpensive?
No. Everything you're seeing, like all of this is stuff that I made on, like I haven't paid for anything. And the software is free. There you go.
We need a good computer for this.
Yes, you would. Well, you don't necessarily if you have a lot of patience.
Why is that?
Because you can like hit render and then it'll just take 12 years. And if you wait the 12 years, it'll be done.